Everybody, welcome to Red Zone. Shaun and Mike here, Week 10 picks. It is Week 10 already, but this week Pac-12 starts.
Week 1 for them and the MAC too.
6 MAC games on Wednesday night. I mean,
wow.
Crazy. Crazy week 9. I did better. I ditched in the stats and started picking with my gut, and I did better, 10-8. I mean, it's not bad.
Yeah, so. I was not anywhere close to that.
Okay.
I think I was probably 8-10.
So some interesting just notes from Week 9. We're not going to spend a lot of time. We do talk a lot, too much sometimes. But some quick notes. We had Ohio State gets the win over Penn State. They covered by half a point.
I took Penn State in that.
Yep. He took the Penn State neutered Lions, because that's what they are now.
Noah Kane was out for the game. Didn't know about that when we were making our picks. I don't know. I just thought that they would come out with a little bit more fight than that. And I mean, they covered by half a point, so I was almost. Which
I'm surprised because I thought Ohio State would have covered by a lot more.
Yeah.
So to me, they look good.
They're
but
still breaking in some young players.
I see some red flags there. I'll just say that. They're not coming up this week, but
once they get a little bit more games under their belt, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah.
It's just there's some key areas where they're breaking in some new players. You know, even that running back room. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of experience there. So,
last thing I'll mention about this game real quick. Got to shout out to linebacker Tuff Borland. If you follow anything about the Buckeyes, you know, we always talk about how you need to develop players. And some of these teams don't develop players. Yeah. Look at how far Tuff Borland has come from when he first started to now as a senior. I mean, he is incredible. I mean, his reads, they're so instant. He sees a lineman moving, he's filling right away, taking away screens. Just remarkable how well he played. I mean, it was just incredible. I mean, I did not see that coming out of him, and I think he continues. But that is just hats off to coaches and his work ethic and being able to develop like that. Okay, another game real quick. Minnesota drops to Maryland.
Yeah.
What happened there? I mean, P.J. Fleck is captain of the Titanic right now.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense just did not look like they were physical whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a shootout of a game, but towards the end of that game, Minnesota just kind of tucked their tail and just didn't look like they wanted to tackle anybody.
They look 180 opposite of what they were last year.
Yeah.
And it's mostly the same players. So I don't know what's going on up in Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't either.
We had, quickly, as far as spreads go, SMU played Navy. Navy covers. It was a half point. I mean, I think it was like SMU won by 14. The spread was 14.5 when we picked it.
Yeah, it was I'll say it was a scary Halloween this year. Boston College. I mean,
well, no Trevor Lawrence. I mean, you know that's going to affect big things.
I'm going to try on his name.
Oh, I can't say it. I'm not
even going to try. He comes in. He's a freshman. He makes freshman mistakes. Yeah. But that defense giving up. What'd they give up?
28 points. But they were. But Clemson was down and they came back. I mean, it was.
That's true. That's true. Those 28, I think, were all in the first.
Because
the first half.
Clemson was down 28 to 10. Yeah, Clemson was down 28 to 10, and part of that too. I mean, look, I know the teams are different. The guys don't play both ways, but when you lose Trevor Lawrence, that affects defensive players as well. I mean, it's just a mentality, and they had to work through that.
You don't expect that. I mean, they were without Xavier Thomas, and I guess he went out with a targeting call. I think so. Was that?
I think so. I don't remember yet.
So anyway, you just don't expect that from Brent Venables led defense to just give up that much. But I will say, in the second half, they were able to corral and shut them out in the second half, and that's all you hope for them to do, to give your freshman quarterback a chance. Yep. But they cannot come out like that this week. They just can't do it. I was reluctantly cheering on Texas this week. Sorry,
but we both
fans.
called it.
Yeah,
we both said Texas was going to win. I mean, so
Spencer Sanders is just giving the ball away too much.
Well, you can't turn the ball over. I think
Yeah.
they turned it over 5 times,
Yeah.
and you can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, you just can't do it. And I'll tell you what, Texas's defense is awful.
Yeah.
It's one of the worst defenses in college football. I mean, it is bad. I mean, beyond
ranks
bad.
down there.
It stinks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing they were able to win. But that hats off to Sam Ehlinger, because at the end of the game, in the fourth quarter when it mattered,
He just keeps.
he got it done.
He's like, I will say, he's like Tim Tebow, like
Yes.
him,
Similar
in the fact that he does what he needs to do to win games.
Yes,
I mean,
he does.
And yes, they've dropped some, so don't get all over the comment board. And I'm just saying, mostly when they lose, it's not because of him. I mean, he just is going to do what he needs what his team asks of him, and so it's just Tom Herman. I don't know if I guess he's calling plays, maybe.
No.
Is Yursich
calling plays?
Okay, because I saw Texas fans saying that Tom Herman needs to let somebody else call plays.
He has started letting him call plays.
Okay.
You know,
because I know Yursich didn't call plays when he was at Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
With Mike Gundy. So.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and last game I want to bring up real quick. Michigan State beats Michigan.
I know.
I mean, Jim Harbaugh is probably on the way out.
Bunch of pretenders.
In Ann Arbor. Yes.
Yeah.
Michigan is the Big Ten's Texas. Every year, it's Michigan's back. Michigan, the media always wants to put them in the top 25. They always want to put Texas in the top 25. Yeah. And what happens? They never amount to anything.
Yeah.
They just don't. And I'm tired. I'm tired of the AP putting these teams in the top 25 to start the season, saying they're back. Well, this is their year. They've turned the corner. No, don't do it until they've shown it.
Yeah,
they've got to show it.
It's got to be leadership, because both teams can buy themselves a winning program, and they just, I mean, they're among the richest college football programs, or even just athletic programs in the country.
Yes.
So.
It's appalling.
Confusing.
It's weird.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Georgia and Kentucky was a weird one.
Yep. I picked Kentucky in the points.
I took Georgia. I took Memphis, and Cincinnati just blew their doors off.
Yep.
I thought Memphis would give a harder fight there.
Cincinnati is legit at number 6. They are legit at number 6.
And the end of the season, they might for making the playoff.
And I don't think that'll happen, because I know they should, and Cincinnati should be, but
depending on what
here's the deal. Here's the deal with the matchups. At number 1, you have Clemson. Cincinnati's not better than Clemson. They wouldn't beat Clemson. Number 2 is Alabama. I don't think Cincinnati would beat Alabama. I don't think Cincinnati would beat Ohio State. Now, when you start getting at number 4, that's where it gets tricky, because I think Cincinnati would beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So, but the committee is not going to let them in there. They're not going to let a group of 5 school in the playoffs.
Here's the thing, though.
They should.
They don't typically rule it like that. Because how many times has Oklahoma, have you been able to go to the top 4 and say, Oklahoma would not beat that team, they would not beat that team?
Yeah, but
same thing with the other.
Oklahoma's a Power 5 school with tradition and a name.
I get that.
I'm saying Cincinnati's not going to be allowed in there.
But that same line of thinking is just, and that's what Kirk Herbstreit says every year. Would this team beat this team? I mean, that's why you have a playoff. That's why you have a playoff. There's a reason for March Madness in the spring, is because, that 16th seeded team, they're not going to beat all these other teams, but give them the chance.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the year to give them a chance.
It is.
And I say, if they win all their games out and you have some slip up with the Pac-12, you don't have a clear-cut favorite, and then the Big 12s may have a 2-loss team. Yeah.
Cincinnati Cincinnati has 1 game left on the schedule, to me, that is a scary, scary game, and it's the one that got canceled or postponed earlier in the year, and that's against Tulsa, because Tulsa's defense is very good. They beat SMU, they beat Memphis, they're through the hardest part of their schedule.
Well, I was looking at it earlier today. They have UCF, who's 4-2. They have Houston coming up, who's 500. I mean, they're 2-2.
Yeah.
And then Tulsa, who's 3-1. So they've got 3 teams left that are 500 or above. So,
I think Memphis and SMU were the 2 big ones. Yeah. And this year. So, and they're through those. So as long as they don't have a letdown, and every team at some point does.
Well, from here on out, Houston, East Carolina, UCF, Temple, and Tulsa are all going to have a Cincinnati-shaped target out there.
Sure, yeah.
And so they better bring their A game every week.
All right, let's get to the picks. We're picking 27 games this week because Pac-12 is back. We're not picking every single game. I'm sorry, we just can't. I mean, you can't pick every game. Picking all the top 25 teams. I do apologize that we skipped Kansas State and West Virginia last week. I'm not sure how we did that.
I'm not. I would have taken Kansas State.
I would have too, and that's why it would have been a loss. So anyway, all right, let's get into it real quick. Okay, number 11, Miami, a 9.5-point favorite at NC State. NC State, I think, is 4-2 right now. A surprising 4-2. Once I took NC State once earlier this year against North Carolina, and they dropped it. And North Carolina lost last week, and I don't think they're in the top 25 anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, to this one, Miami and
NC State.
Miami, NC State. 9.5. I will take Miami.
Yeah, we lock them in at what we see them at. I think we locked them in yesterday.
Sunday night.
Sunday. It has since moved to 10. So if that tells you anything, it's at NC State. NC State beat Duke, UVA, Pitt. They lost to Virginia Tech. This is a tough one. I can never really get a grasp on NC State.
Miami's only loss was to Clemson. So.
Well, and both teams had a bye week this last week. NC State's got to be better against the run than it was against North Carolina. And they've got their backup quarterback in. I'm going to take Miami.
Okay.
I want to take NC State, take the home dog there, but I think Miami's more complete than they are.
All right, next game. Number 9, BYU is a 1-point favorite at number 21, Boise State. BYU has been impressive all year long. I'm a little shocked. I thought BYU would be a little bit more of a favorite than this. However, I'm taking Boise State because they're extremely difficult to beat on the blue turf. And I just think this BYU's kind of Cinderella season comes to a halt on the Smurf turf. So I'll take Boise State.
Yeah, this is the first real test for BYU. But I do have a note here. 6 close games in the series, 4 decided by 1 point. The Broncos opened as a 3-point favorite, but the line has shifted. And Hank Bachmeier did not travel with the team last week. But their backup quarterback, Jack Sears, tossed 3 touchdowns. BYU has Zach Wilson, who is a Heisman contender at this point.
Yeah.
I'm going to take BYU. I think they keep rolling this week.
Okay. Next one, Rutgers is at number 3, Ohio State. Ohio State, 37.5-point favorite. That's a big number, but I cannot go against the Buckeyes. I'm going to take Ohio State. Rutgers is a better team, though, than people give credit for. They kind of hung in there with Indiana for a little bit last week.
Yeah.
But ultimately, Ohio State, it's just, I mean, they've got the best athletes in the Big Ten, some of the best athletes in all of college football. There's just such a talent gap there. Greg Schiano, is coming back to Columbus. He was a defensive coordinator for several years under Urban Meyer. So he kind of knows Ryan Day. Ryan Day kind of knows Schiano. A little bit of strategy going on there.
Yeah.
Rutgers might make a game of it for a quarter. It might stay close. It might be 7-17 in the first. But Buckeyes are going to roll in this one. I think we see some backups, and I think they win by 40.
I think they roll, but I don't know. With having Greg Schiano there and just kind of knowing the ins and outs of their program, and Rutgers is better than we thought they'd be.
Mm-hmm.
This could be like a 45-10 game, and that would still be an impressive win. So do they kind of hit the brakes once they get up a little bit, not really wanting to embarrass your former coach or coordinator? I'm going to take Rutgers in this. I think that's the last 6 meetings, the margin was an average of 46.5 in favor of Ohio State, obviously. But I just think that, I don't know. I think maybe Ryan Day kind of came into that program, that he was an offensive coordinator while Schiano was a defensive coordinator. I just don't see him really going out there and just stomping a mud hole in them.
Okay.
So I'll take Rutgers. But I'll say, 35 points. That's a butt kicking, So
it is.
I'm not saying they don't just go out there and smash them, but not embarrassingly.
Okay. Next game, number 14, Oklahoma State, coming off the loss to Texas, 9.5-point favorites at Kansas State. Kansas State coming off a loss to West Virginia.
Yeah.
Of course, losing Thompson for the year. I mean, you knew it was going to catch up with them at some point. As far as this game goes, Oklahoma State, now they got to run the table the rest of the way. I mean, they really do. I mean, with your one loss, playoffs out of the picture for them. There's no shot. There's just not. They don't have the name brand of an OU. They can't get in the playoffs in this season with one loss. So playoffs is done. There's no talk about playoffs, no reason. But they are still playing for a Big 12 championship. I think they bounce back this week, and I think they definitely cover the 9.5.
You think Oklahoma State does?
Oklahoma State covers the 9.5.
I'm going to take Kansas State in this. I think with the turnover woes of Oklahoma State, listen, Kansas State is not that team that's going to slip up, and keep a game close if you give them the ball. I mean, they capitalize on it. They're a pretty a sound football team as far as being, just focused. They've been that way since Bill Snyder was there. Chris Kleiman continues that. I think that Kansas State covers. 3 of the last 5 meetings have been one-score games, and I think it follows that trend.
I'll just add that I think Spencer Sanders, if he struggles early, if he turns the ball over, Mike Gundy's going to pull him. I think that you're at that point now.
Well, you've got another quarterback out there, the Illingsworth, that
who filled in great at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
And so you don't take a chance. You can't afford to lose another game. If Spencer Sanders is struggling, if he's turning the ball over, you yank him, and I think that's what Mike Gundy will do.
I think Oklahoma State wins, but I don't see them covering 10 points. So.
Okay. Next game is number 23, Michigan, 3.5-point favorite at number 13, Indiana. Can't believe Michigan's a favorite. I think Indiana is a sound football team. They're very good this year. Michigan has some issues. I know they have some talent, but they're also very young. And I just don't think that they can get it done against Indiana. I think they get another loss here, and it renews, or it just increases the volume of the calls to get rid of Jim Harbaugh. Traveling to Indiana is another reason why. So I'll take Indiana to outright beat Michigan.
Yeah, this one is a little interesting because what does Michigan do, in a bounce-back game? I think Indiana might be a little overvalued here, being 2-0. The road team is 3-0-1 against the spread in the last 4 meetings. Michigan has won 24 straight against Indiana and has won by double digits in the past 2 meetings. I know this is a different Indiana team. But sometimes when you have a team figured out, you've got them figured out.
Well, Penn State had Indiana figured out until week 1. So
yeah, Indiana hasn't beaten the Hoosiers or the Wolverines since 1987, and 2 of the past 3 meetings in Bloomington have been one-score games. I don't know. This is tough. I'm going to go with Michigan. I just have to think that they bounce back, and with their quarterback,
Milton.
With Milton, I think you could see 2-3 touchdown passes out of him this Saturday.
Okay. Maryland is at Penn State. Penn State is a 24-point favorite. You got to think that Maryland beating Minnesota is more about Minnesota being bad than Maryland being good.
Yeah.
Especially after Maryland's lost to Northwestern in week 1.
Yeah.
I'll take Penn State to roll in this one. They 0-2 at this point, not even ranked. I mean, it's about pride now.
Yeah.
They got to show something. They need to come out and really blast somebody away, and I think they do it this week.
Yeah. Man. Will Maryland's defense have any breath at all? Because if they don't, I think Penn State just rolls and will just – and what was that spread?
24.
24.
And Penn State's defense is pretty good. I mean, and they did play well against Ohio State. And I think that I don't know if Maryland can move the ball. They might not even get a first down in this game.
Yeah, that's true. I'll take Penn State.
Okay. Baylor is at number 17, Iowa State. Iowa State 13.5-point favorite. Baylor is trash this year. They are not good at all.
Yeah.
Even when they had Charlie Brewer, I mean, they're just not. They're nothing like they were. I'll take Iowa State to cover.
Yeah, Iowa State remains in the Big 12 picture. I think this is really style points don't really matter at this point. We'll see what Charlie Brewer can do. But they're kind of struggling at this point to put anything together.
Yeah.
Their 3 losses are by an average of 9 points per game. But Iowa State is 2-2 against the spread as favorites. So they don't really cover as well as the favorite. I'm going to take Iowa State. I'll go with my gut in that one.
Nebraska is at Northwestern. Northwestern is a 4-point favorite. Northwestern came back last week to beat Iowa after being down. The interesting thing about Northwestern, of all the teams in the Big Ten, they return more experience than any other team. And I know they had a terrible year last year, but having all that experience back, I think they're 2-0 now. Wins over Maryland, wins over Iowa. So I think they keep it rolling. I mean, Nebraska has to go up there. I'd probably take Nebraska if it was a home game for them. But I like Northwestern in this one to cover the 4.
I'm going to take Northwestern as well.
Okay. Minnesota, 7.5-point favorite at Illinois. Illinois without Brandon Peters, who is in COVID protocol. He has COVID. When you lose him at quarterback, and they've had a lot of other guys out who probably won't be back this week, I don't know the exact status of everybody on their team, but without Peters, I just don't think – I know Minnesota's been playing really bad, but I don't think Illinois can hang with Minnesota having those kind of guys out. So I have to take Minnesota to cover 7.5.
Yeah.
Thinking this might be a 10-point win for them.
Yeah, I'm going to take Minnesota as well. You got to think Tanner Morgan at some point is going to
light
flash.
it up.
So
yeah.
Maybe this is a good game for him to come out and be impressive. Illinois is only averaging 15.5 points per game on offense, and they're giving up 38. Minnesota is giving up 47 points per game. They gave up 49 to Michigan. They gave up 45 to Maryland. So, if their defense can show any kind of flashes that they can stop somebody, then I think a touchdown is well within there. Well, it's 7.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take them to win by 9 points.
Okay. Next one, Air Force is at Army. Army is a 6.5-point favorite. I don't know why. Everything on paper tells me to take Army, but my gut tells me to take Air Force. So I'm just going to go with my gut, and I'm going to take Air Force and the points. Air Force, I think, is only playing 2 games this year. Is that right? Navy and Army? I think they were the ones only playing, just playing the other academies.
Well, they've already played. Did
they play
3?
Oh, they did. Okay, so that must be wrong then. Okay, forget it. I thought I heard that somewhere earlier in the year, but maybe I was wrong. So,
and they've got it looks like they're playing a full slate. I mean, they got Wyoming up after Army.
Okay.
New Mexico, Colorado State, and Utah State. So,
well, I'm just gonna go with my gut and take Air Force.
I'm gonna take Army. Army's usually the better team in this series, so I'm gonna just stick with Army.
Okay. North Carolina, 9.5-point favorite against Duke. I'm on the fence because I can't believe that North Carolina lost again last week.
I know.
I'm just shocked by that. But I feel like if I go against them, they're just going to destroy Duke. North Carolina has the better coach. They have the better players. But it's a rivalry game for sure, So you have to take that into account. I'm going to take Duke in this. I'm going to take Duke to cover the points.
Yeah, Sam Howell was really impressive against Virginia. He threw for 443 yards, 4 touchdowns, with a QBR of 84. He rushed for negative 25. I mean, that's just getting sacked a lot. But can their defense do anything? I don't know. I'm gonna go with North Carolina. I mean, Duke has lost 5 out of their 7 games so far. I'm gonna take North Carolina.
Okay. Next game, Arizona State is at number 20 USC. USC a 10.5-point favorite. First game for both these schools. Arizona State is kind of one of those teams like it's every other year.
Yeah.
They're up one year, then they're down. And last year they were down for the most part, and you think that they're going to bounce back and maybe have a good year. But, USC, this is kind of a make or break season there for their coaching staff. So I'm going to reluctantly take USC to cover 10.5, although I wouldn't be surprised if this is a 10-point game. I think the spread might be perfect on this one.
Yeah, so I'm looking for I don't know. This being the first game, it'll be a nice quarterback battle between Jaden Daniels for Arizona State and Keaton Slovis for USC. It's an early start for a Pac-12 game.
9 a.m.
Yeah.
Local time. That is crazy to be kicking off.
Yeah, both teams have split the last 2 meetings with a combined total of 8 points. I'm gonna take Arizona State.
Okay, that's probably a good pick. 18 SMU is 13.5-point favorite versus Temple. I don't know about this one. Like I wouldn't even put money on this one at all. But I feel like I just for some reason feel like Temple is going to keep it a close game. So I'm going to take Temple.
I'm taking SMU. SMU is 13-1 against the spread when favored by double digits. And Temple has struggled with starting and stopping their season. I mean, they've been up and down. So, I think SMU performs better on the road this time around than they did against Tulane. I'm going to take SMU.
Okay, West Virginia is at number 22 Texas. Texas is a 7-point favorite. Give me West Virginia to win outright.
To win outright.
Yep. I like what they've been able to do. They've looked pretty good. Texas's defense is atrocious, just atrocious. And I just think, I don't know, they're coming off that big win against Oklahoma State, but I think they have a big letdown, and I think West Virginia goes in there and takes care of business.
Yeah, both teams still in the race for Big 12, depending on what teams above them do. But Texas is 1-3 against the spread when favored this year. I'm going to take West Virginia to cover. I think Texas wins the game. I think it's a close one because they've had shootouts here in the past, in the very recent past, and I just don't see them covering that.
Okay. Number 25, Liberty against Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a 15-point favorite. Give me Liberty. I'll take Liberty to cover those points. Maybe they don't win, but, I mean, Virginia Tech's nothing to write home about this year. So, and what they've been able to do they're like Coastal Carolina. It's like, at this point, it's kind of hard to pick against them.
Yeah.
And what a huge win would it be
to
beat Virginia Tech?
Well, did they beat Baylor last year? Was that Liberty that beat?
No, that was a couple years back when they won like one game. Remember that?
Yeah.
Because everybody made fun of Baylor for losing to Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might have been like 3 or 4 years ago.
I think it's more like a 7-point game. So I'm going to take Liberty as well. Liberty scoring 38 points per game. And I know that's against not as good competition as Virginia Tech plays, but I say they keep it close.
Okay. Tulsa is a 10-point favorite versus Navy. Navy lost to SMU by 14. Tulsa has a really good defense. Navy, they're not strictly a run team. They do throw the ball, but I think they're going to have a hard time running against Tulsa. Although, with Tulsa being a 10-point favorite, that feels like a lot. So I think I'm going to take Navy in this one.
Yeah, Navy's defense, they're allowing 445 yards per game. That's not very good.
I just feel like if they stayed within 14 of SMU, then they could definitely stay within 10 of Tulsa.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's a home game for
I know
Navy.
Tulsa's only had 4 games that, due to COVID, they've had several games be postponed or canceled. I just think Tulsa's the better team. And 10 points, yeah, give me Tulsa.
Okay. Next one is Michigan State at Iowa. Iowa's a 7-point favorite. Man, Iowa is a team that plays great defense typically and just can't get in the end zone.
Yeah.
I mean, year after year, that's just kind of how it goes there. You know, and they've got these things they're dealing with up there with former players suing, wanting the coach removed, and they want all this kind of money. A lot of turmoil going on, a lot of accusations of racism going on around the Iowa football program. And I don't think that...
Well, Michigan State's not without their controversy as well.
That's true, but they have a whole new coaching staff. Like, they are kind of moving... They've turned the page on that.
Yeah.
And Iowa has not yet. I don't know if any of that plays any part in this. But Michigan State beating Michigan, I just feel like... I don't know. I feel like Michigan State's going to stay within 7, so I'm going to take Michigan State. I think it's a close game, probably field goal.
Yeah, Iowa, their 2 losses were of a combined 5 points. They lost to Purdue 24-20, Northwestern 21-20, so they've kept it close. And then Michigan State got beat by a better Rutgers team. Maybe they were going in there thinking that, you know, Rutgers was just going to lay down like every year. And
Rutgers has always been your automatic win.
Yeah.
It's kind of how the SEC used to look at Arkansas. But, you know, it's not the same Rutgers.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You know, they probably took them lightly and weren't ready for them. That's what I think. So, I mean, clearly they're a good football team. They beat Michigan. So,
yeah, but how much does that how much, you know, emotion went into that game that that maybe you have a little bit of a letdown here? I'll take Iowa. I think maybe the smart money knows something here.
Yeah. Maybe. Okay, UMass is at number 16 Marshall. Marshall 44.5-point favorite if they get to play, because there's been 2 games so far this year we've picked, and then Marshall ends up not playing.
Yeah.
If they do get to play, UMass is absolutely hideous. They're just really, really bad, and Marshall should just win going away. They might score 70 on UMass. So I'll take Marshall cover 44.5 if they play the game. Well,
this is one of those teams. UMass is one of those teams that has a 3-game schedule. They lost 41-0 to Georgia Southern 3 weeks ago. But that's a lot of points. You know, Marshall could win 48-6 and not cover. So, you know, what do you do there?
I mean, I think they score at least 52 with that offense.
Yeah. I'll take Marshall. I'm reluctant to take him, but I'll take Marshall.
All right. Next game, one of 2 top 10 matchups this week.
Yeah.
Huge game. The big old outdoor cocktail party, socially distanced this year, of course. And that would be number 8 Florida against number 5 Georgia. Georgia is a 4.5-point favorite. Florida with their controversy with Missouri last week, the fight at halftime.
Yeah.
Trask getting hit late. That was such a dirty hit.
Yeah.
It was such a dirty hit. And, you know,
how many players are out due to
3.
that? Okay.
3. They're missing. So 3 of them are missing the first half, not the whole game.
Okay.
And then Dan Mullen got fined $25,000. The guys they are missing
for pumping up the crowd.
No, because he immediately came out, like him and the Missouri coach got into heated argument.
Went and shook hands and stuff. I thought they were.
It was. I don't know. The SEC fined him for how he reacted to the situation or whatever. So anyway, back to this. To me personally, I feel like Florida's the better football team. I hate to go against Georgia. I mean, Georgia is talented as well. It's just my question is Georgia on offense.
Yeah.
I don't know if they have enough offense. And Trask and Florida, I think, will score. And this almost feels like a repeat of Georgia-Alabama in some ways. I'm going to take Florida because they're the underdogs. Now, I mean, I think it could be a very close game. Georgia might win by 3, but I don't
Florida's
see...
still giving up. Florida's defense hasn't been, as far as a scoring defense, they haven't been as good as we thought they would be.
Yeah.
I mean, and I believe...
But I feel like if Kentucky can hold Georgia to 14, then Florida probably could too.
Yeah, Trask has thrown at least 4 touchdowns in all of... hang on. Something's not right here. I think I have the wrong note. Never mind. I don't know. you got to think with Georgia having that letdown of a game against Kentucky, they still got the win. I'm going to take them to cover.
Georgia?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, big game, Houston at number 6, Cincinnati. Cincinnati is an 11-point favorite. I'll roll with the Bearcats. I'm not going against them. That was a very impressive win against Memphis. Houston's been up and down as far as like if they even can play. And, you know, Dana Holgerson's got some issues down there he's got to deal with. And I think for Houston, it's like, let's get through this season. Just get through it and get to next year. And Cincinnati has a lot to play for. They can't afford to lose. Going to be well prepared. They're playing at home. That's a big deal. So I just think they easily cover 11. Yeah,
Cincinnati has covered they're 3-2 against the spread. They have covered in the last 2 weeks pretty impressively. They're starting to get some playoff consideration. And 3 different Bearcats have at least 200 yards rushing this season in Desmond Ridder, Jared Dokes, and Jerome Ford. So I think Cincinnati just keeps rolling.
Yep. Next one, Purdue is at number 10, Wisconsin. Wisconsin's 7.5-point favorite, of course, without Graham Mertz, their quarterback, who's out with COVID for at least 21 days, and this would be 14 or so.
They've got several COVID cases on the team, so this game may not even get played this week.
Well, if it does, I'm going to take Wisconsin to cover 7.5 because I don't think Purdue can move the ball effectively on that defense, and I think their defense can pull them out of this. And so
I think if they go ahead and play the game, I'm going to take Purdue to keep it close.
Okay.
You know, if they do happen to postpone it and play it with a healthy squad, I would take Wisconsin, no problem.
Okay. Kansas is at number I lost my place. Number 19, Oklahoma. Oklahoma 38-point favorite after what they did to Texas Tech. 62 on Texas Tech. They ought to be able to score 80 on Kansas if they want to.
Yeah. They're starting to get some things figured out there in
This
Norman.
is typical Oklahoma. Struggle at the beginning of the season and then hit your stride.
Yeah, they haven't lost a game in November since, I think, maybe since Lincoln Riley got here. I can't remember the last the last November game they lost. Yep. So they are really good in November.
I got them covering 38.
I've got them covering as well. I think they could win by 50 in this game. Kansas is just they have not improved whatsoever under Les Miles. And Oklahoma has improved throughout this year. I would even think that if they played Kansas State and Iowa State at this point again, they would beat them. Just with what they've gotten back in Ronnie Perkins and Ramondre Stevenson.
Stevenson
came back and just, I mean, he's going to embarrass Kansas. I mean, they may take him out in the second quarter because he's got over 200 yards.
Les Miles is calling up his doctor right now saying, "You sure I don't have COVID? You sure I can't sit this one out again?"
I mean, that dude, he's going to the NFL and maybe next year if he doesn't plan on wanting to get a full season under his belt. Well, he had last season, but anyway, I take Oklahoma.
All right, next game is...
And they might have Jaden Hazelwood and Trajan Bridges back at wide receiver.
Okay.
If they do, it could be 60 or 70 points.
All right, next game, Arizona is at Utah. Utah 14.5-point favorite. You know what's interesting this year is that, you know, Utah for the longest time fought to be relevant as a group of 5. They get in the Pac-12, and they've been kind of dominant in the Pac-12. It's just kind of shocking that they don't even break the top 25 this year. I mean, to start out.
Well, they lost all their key components to that team that made them good last year.
But they're also a team that typically can reload in some fashion.
Yeah.
So I just thought they would be in there in the top 25.
But the parts that made them so good was their quarterback, their running back. They had a couple players drafted, and I just don't think that this first game getting back into a season, I just don't see 14. What was that? 14.5.
Yeah, I'm taking Arizona because I think it's too much.
Yeah, I'm taking Arizona, especially in the first game when you don't really know what Utah has. I mean, you don't know. I mean, they could have experience back behind those guys that left, but I just think this first game I've got to take the underdog.
Okay. Number 7, Texas A&M is a 7.5-point favorite at South Carolina. This comes down to which South Carolina team shows up.
Yeah.
I mean, plain and simple. I mean, and you know, I've mentioned this before. There's a YouTube channel, SEC Shorts. Hilarious, the videos these guys do. They did one like 2 weeks ago about being a South Carolina fan, and it's spot on because you don't know. Honestly, you don't know who's going to show up. You know, is it going to be the team that's going to upset a number 5 ranked team or something, or is it the team that just can't do anything? And so,
yeah, I went against A&M last week. I picked Arkansas. I just, you know, I liked where Arkansas was headed. The trajectory they were on, it looked very good. But A&M proved me wrong. Yeah. But the last 2 games in Columbia have been close. So I'm gonna take the Gamecocks to cover. I think that A&M wins this game, but I just think that South Carolina keeps it close.
I've been on the fence with this one back and forth, but just the inconsistency with South Carolina, I can't take them. At number 7, Texas A&M is in the playoff hunt if they just continue on. But they also need some style points. They've got to come out and they got to win some games big. And so this is one of them. You can't let this game stay close. So I'll take Texas A&M.
I will add that A&M is 2-3 against the spread. South Carolina's 3-1-1. So I mean, take that for how you will. And South Carolina's coming off of a bye week. So and they're at home. You have time to change your pick.
Not changing my pick. Every time I change my pick, I get it wrong. Okay. So I'm going to stick with Texas A&M. All right, next big one. Number 1, Clemson, 6.5-point favorite at number 4, Notre Dame. No Trevor Lawrence at Notre Dame. I am shocked that Clemson is a 6.5-point favorite. I'm taking Notre Dame to outright win the game.
Okay.
Clemson does not drop lower than 3. So Notre Dame wins. Clemson drops to 3.
This is Clemson's first single-digit spread of the season.
Yeah. They're going to be facing a lot of adversity on the road.
So I think when you say you're shocked, I mean, I think that seems right, you know. Still on defense, they still have far and above the better talent on defense. I mean, you can't argue that. They have 5 stars on just about every position group, you know, in their defense. So I think them coming back out after halftime in that game and just shutting Boston College down and saying that's it. We're no more.
I feel like this game could even go to overtime. So yes, Clemson could cover if it goes to overtime. They score a touchdown.
I'm gonna take just with UEA Galele. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm probably not.
Just call him Mr. U.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I think with another week of before when I first learned that Trevor Lawrence was out, I said Notre Dame's going to win this game. They just are. And then with the struggles of Boston College, but I think with a week of preparation or one more week of preparation for that quarterback, I think that they win by a touchdown at least.
Okay. Next game is Stanford is at number 12, Oregon. Oregon 11.5-point favorite. Let me just say something. Oregon has on paper they're supposed to be really good this year, right? So, but Justin Herbert's gone. They have a new quarterback.
Yeah.
Everybody's high on him. Okay, just like Milton at Michigan. Remember, Oklahoma starts out number 3 in the country with their guy Rattler, who everybody says, hell, he's going to contend for the Heisman. And that didn't quite work out. They lost a couple games.
Yeah.
I think people are getting ahead of themselves, just anointing Oregon as like the automatic winner of the Pac-12, and they're going to be a playoff hunt. And 11.5 to me in the very first game is too much against a Stanford team that I think has turned the corner. Costello's gone, and I don't think Stanford wins. I think Oregon wins. But this one turns out to be a very close game that people are going to want to watch, and I think I'll be glued to it towards the end of the game.
We're going against each other a lot this week.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting in the totals at the end.
So I got Stanford, by the way. I'm
going to take Oregon. I think that nobody in the Pac-12 has recruited on the defensive side as well as they have. They've gotten just some monsters on the defensive. Thibodeau there on the defensive line, unless he opted out, I don't know that. And then Justin Flo, linebacker, who's humongous. I just recently saw a picture of him with kind of the jersey kind of tucked under, you know, Ezekiel Elliott style, and dude was just massive. I mean, at first I thought it was Shaun Oakman from Baylor, you know, years ago. He was just humongous. So I think that defense could turn out to be one of the better defenses in the country this year. They got Dante Manning, who was a 5-star cornerback, and I think that they cover this week.
Okay. We got 2 games left to pick. Tennessee is 1.5-point favorite at Arkansas. Give me Arkansas.
Taking Arkansas.
They're home. They're underdog. I think they're just a better team than Tennessee.
Yeah, and it's a what is it? A 1.5 points.
1.5.
Yeah, they typically say take the home team in those situations. So I'm going to take Arkansas.
I mean, Tennessee started off 2-0, and we thought they were going to be something, and then they're the same old dumpster fire they've been for the past 5 years, and so. You know, Arkansas is on the upswing, and I think that they're better right now. So
yeah, Tennessee's defense giving up 33 points a game. They have lost 3 in a row. Arkansas has lost 2 out of the last 3, but 1 to Texas A&M and 1 to Auburn.
Yeah. And the Auburn one they won.
Well, and Tennessee's 2 of their last 3 were Alabama and Georgia. So neither team has really had it easy these last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But I'll take Arkansas. I think just the home team and the small spread, I think I'm comfortable taking the home team.
Okay. Last game, South Alabama against number 15, Coastal Carolina. Coastal Carolina is a 16-point favorite, and their quarterback, who was doubtful last week, ended up playing and had a monster game.
Yeah.
You know, if he's playing, I think they cover the 16. I was about to say they easily cover, but honestly, I've actually watched South Alabama a couple games this year. They're not bad.
Yeah.
They're not terrible, but Coastal Carolina is on another level this year.
Yeah.
So they'll take them to cover 16.
Yeah. You know, Coastal Carolina, one of the darlings of college football this year. If it was March Madness, they would have a huge, you know, cover story this year. They are 5-1 against the spread this season. This is their first double-digit line as a favorite. South Alabama is 2-2 against the spread as the underdog. But I'm going to stick with Coastal Carolina. I've been picking them every week, and I think they keep it rolling.
Okay, that's our picks for Week 10. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed, like the video, and also always leave your comments. And we'll get to those when we can.
That was probably the most games in the least amount of time.
That was a lot of games, yeah. So I don't know how long this is going to turn out. But anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Take care.